I think I'm live now. I'm sorry, I'm a few minutes late tonight, guys. I'm just checking that I am now actually live. I've had a few technical issues. I do apologize. Uh, just checking that I am actually live before I start. Da, da, da. I think, ah, I think. I think I'm good to go. Think I'm good to go, everyone. So I apologize, I'm a little bit late. I hope we have some people watching. Um, Wendy tells me I'm live, so I'm going to go ahead. I know that sometimes there's a delay on these things. So I hope that some people are joining us and that I am actually live in the group. Um, yeah, I can say I am now. That's absolutely brilliant. Okay, and I can see that I've got some people here as well. So if you are here watching live, say hello. It would be lovely to know who's here watching. Just say hello in the chat. That would be amazing. And I hope you're all ready for my little mini live this evening, which is following on from last week when I was talking about walks and how troublesome they can be for a lot of us Doberman owners. So tonight I'm going to talk about the deconstructed dog walk, our deconstructed dog walk. And this little chat is to help owners whose dogs suffer with reactivity, over arousal, and frustrated behaviours. Dogs who are pulling on the lead, they have a failing recall, for example, or they bark and lunge or display other challenging behaviours on walks. This is for you guys, and I hope it's going to help you. So, walking our dogs. Often owners of dogs of all ages will struggle to walk their dogs, as I spoke into last week. And it's a bit of a shame, really, because when we get our dog, we have this lovely dream, don't we, about going for a super duper walk in the woods or in the countryside. And quite often I find, particularly with Doberman owners, young Doberman owners, adolescent Dobermans, reactive Dobermans, etc., this ideal, this dream is often dashed, sadly, because our dogs are simply far too overexcited, over aroused. They're pulling on the lead and generally simply can't listen to us, their owners. And as I say, adolescent dogs in particular have a lot going on for them during their transitional adolescent period, and walks can become a complete nightmare. Reactive dogs, we know if we've got a reactive dog, they just can't cope in the real world often, and quite often as well they'll get worse, much worse, the more walks that they do. So, for this reason, it's often better to take a break from traditional walks, what I call traditional walks, for a while, or at least take a look at what the walks are for, how they're serving us, and then reframe them. And often, I'll advise my clients to take a look at planning walks in a different way. And that's what I'm going to cover this evening in this little mini live. And I say all of this because it's necessary. The more we walk our dog and he's above threshold or practicing unwanted behaviours, the worse your walks will get quite often. And it can be awful, I know, because I've been there myself, as along with many clients who I've helped in the past as well. So let's take a little look at what we need to do to reset what's happening on our walks and give ourselves some time to do some training around the behaviours we do want to see and get out and about. And just in the meantime, temporarily, not forever, plan our walks in a different way. So taking a break from traditional walks gives us the opportunity to really build on that training that we need to do, building in the behaviours that we do need and we do want, such as loose lead walking, and focus on us, establishing them so completely and thoroughly so that our dog automatically and reliably can perform them. And then we can gradually move these behaviours that we want up through more challenging environments until our dog can happily walk nicely wherever you take him. And if you've got a dog who suffers with any of these things that I've spoken into, you know, reactivity, frustration, over arousal, over excitement, you know, and you're leaving the house and he's just nuts every single day the minute you walk through the door, imagine how much difference it would make to you and your dog if you could leave the house in a calm and focused manner. And that's what we need to be able to do if we're going to make a difference to our traditional walks. Now, owners often experience overwhelm on their walks in their dogs, particularly with Dobermans, because the environment is simply too much for them, and it can literally outweigh the learning abilities of our dogs. And far too often as well, I find that us human beings, being who we are, you know, we expect too much of our dogs really, for perhaps the level of training they have, or we don't know enough about understanding why we're seeing the behaviours that we do see. And we expect far, far, far too much. We don't understand their needs. We don't understand why they're behaving the way they do, or even how to train what we actually want. And that's really common. You know, I was one of those people as well before I knew better many years ago. So all of you who are watching tonight, well done for being here, because these are all going to be concepts that we're covering in our little mini live tonight, and hopefully we can help some of you understand what's going on and get a little bit unstuck. So first of all, let's have a little look at why we walk, what dogs need, and what we get from our walks. Okay, and it's important to understand that dog walks rather became the norm in the late 20th century because, of course, they provide an easy, convenient way to meet a lot of our dogs' needs. For example, you know, exercise, toileting, sniffing, companionship, for play. It all happens in one simple package on the traditional dog walks. And yes, this works for a lot of dogs and a lot of people, and it's all hunky-dory, and a lot of people do enjoy their walks. However, you're not alone if traditional walks are hard for you. You're really not. Particularly because, you know, owning high drive working breeds such as the Doberman, often he'll have a high prey drive too. He's a breed quick to arousal. He's got a very low frustration threshold. Dobermans can have a very suspicious nature by way of their breeding. Yeah, and they can be really sensitive too. Quite a lot of our Dobermans are really sensitive these days. I see that a lot in clients' dogs. Now, of course, all Dobermans, even though they're all bred the same, they're all still individuals, and some are going to cope better than others. But in my experience, generally, if we don't train for walks, then walks can often become problematic for us because our Doberman will opt to go self-employed in many different and difficult ways for us, the humans. And if you're watching, then absolutely do share with us in the chat. Wendy's here as well, my assistant. She's going to help any of you if you have any questions. So share with us in the chat what you're experiencing on your walks. Are your walks difficult? If so, why are they difficult? And do as well, you know, ask for help from Wendy whilst you've got her here manning the live chat for me whilst I'm chatting away to you. Now, if we're experiencing difficulties daily on our walk and we know that the traditional walk is not serving us, it's important to know that the traditional walk is not something that is a fundamental, non-negotiable requirement for a dog. Okay, we can provide for their needs in many other ways, and that's what we're going to have a look at with my deconstructed dog walk tonight, which in my opinion is far more constructive and useful for owners to use and practice to help them build that connection, focus and relationship that they want between them and their dog. We actually, we actually need to have a look at all of these things before we even consider going on a traditional walk. And as with everything, we want to achieve and do well with all of the exercises that we want. We need to practice them over and over and over again. So, my deconstructed dog walk, my idea of a deconstructed dog walk, provides for all of the elements of a traditional dog walk and more. But what it doesn't practice, importantly, is pulling on the lead, not coming back when called, ignoring you, the owner. It doesn't encourage over arousal, over excitement, and indeed, it gives your reactive dog a break from the need to be reactive every day when you're out and about. So it reduces his stress levels. Yeah. The deconstructed dog walk looks very different to the traditional walk, but it brings you and your dog together and it builds that connection and that relationship and focus that you need. So my deconstructed dog walk has all the ingredients of a traditional walk: physical exercise, play, exploration, toileting, problem solving, training and companionship, but it looks very different. So my deconstructed dog walk happens in different places. So I don't set out to do a traditional walk, the same walk I do every single day. We do this here and we do that there, wherever we can. And your dog is practicing all of the difficult, challenging behaviours for you. My deconstructed dog walk happens in different places. So I choose to go different places, like secured fields, for example, gardens, or my own garden or someone else's garden that I can borrow, in unpretty places such as quiet industrial estates or disused car parks. It focuses on different activities like scent games, Parker, ACE, animal-centered education, which I teach all of my clients about and which we'll be talking about next week, trick training, and many other different elements. Now, all of these elements may not all happen at the same time. So you might want to play games in your garden, drive out to a service area and play some pattern games there, go to a secure field, for example, for a run around and some search work. But importantly, the deconstructed dog walk contains all of those elements that a traditional walk would give your dog, but it's so much more appropriate to help you and your dog with your training plan going forward for a much more traditional walking experience in the future. And this is what we help our clients understand and learn within our programs. So let's have a look at what your deconstructed dog walk may contain. And these are just some of the suggestions, because obviously we need to provide our dogs with physical exercise. This can be active, very active, or low impact, and can look like lots of different things that I'm going to go into in a minute. Our dog needs mental stimulation, which you'll get, sniffing on walks, etc. Our dog likes to scavenge. It's a natural dog behaviour. We want to be able to take care of those scavenging behaviours, food hunting in various forms. And most importantly, connection. And this is usually connection with you. It should mostly be with you, hanging out with you, playing food circuits, etc. I'm going to talk about later on as well. So let's have a little look at the different ways to provide active physical exercise. This could mean, as I said earlier, changing the location you walk, maybe to a more remote area, and we, as I say, we can use a secured field, use a friend's large garden, try a tennis court, a menage, other secure areas, or a quiet area, drive out a little bit, find somewhere a little bit quieter. And low impact exercise helps keep your dog grounded and will help him feel calm, which is really important if we're going to teach him to, how to work and focus and build connection with us. We need him to be in a mindset where he can learn, which is going to be, a level, calm mindset. So this might include ACE-free work, as I say, which we're going to cover next week. Some people enjoy, swimming their dog, hydrotherapy, for example, engaged chewing, physical activity, faster, more physical activity, more active physical activity can look like playing with a flirt pole if your dog doesn't get too overexcited with that. Tug games, agility, you can do a little bit of agility even in your own back garden. We can do agility, we don't need to go out and do it. We can, there are a lot of cheap home agility kits these days, or in the old days when I was younger I used to make jumps from two garden chairs and a broom, for example. Parkour, that can even be done in your own living room. As I say, tug games, pattern games are absolutely brilliant, and these are some things that we use on our reactivity program. You can investigate something like hoopers if you like running. You could do, and your dog likes to run as well. You can try canicross or man trailing. If you have a reactive dog as well, you'll find that man trailing, for example, dogs come out of the car one at a time. So that's something you might like to look into, which is great fun. And then if we have a look at ways to create mental stimulation through smell, for example, we can play sniffing games, we can build up search and scent work, we can take our dog on a little mini safari, which is literally just an expedition with the main purpose of nose work. So, visiting unpretty places, as I say, like industrial estates that have a hedgerow or a grass verge, we can absolutely use that for sniffaris. And we can even, in a place like that, we can play hide and seek with food and toys too, which we can also do around the house or in the garden. So those are all brilliant ways to create mental stimulation. And then more ways to create mental stimulation. You don't really even have to leave your house or garden for. Trick training is fabulous for focus. I find the more trick training that I've done with my dogs in the past, the more relationship we create with each other, which is absolutely brilliant for focus. Amazing. Husbandry training. So if you have a dog who is reluctant with vets or groomers, for example, or having his nails done, we can have a look into cooperative care and how to get our dog more relaxed around being touched at the vets, going vet visits, being groomed, etc., etc. Cognitive training, again, shaping exercises are brilliant for that. Puzzle games, problem solving, treat toys, these are all amazing ways we can take care of our dog's mental health, really. And activities that allow for scavenging that Sassy absolutely loved when Sassy was a young girl, and even now she absolutely loves, like, safe trash, box trashing, I call it. So boxes within a box within a box, and you'd have various treats within the boxes. Snuffle mats, snuffle boxes, again, ace free work comes up. And then activities, all of these activities I've mentioned create a great connection between you and your dog. But there's also some touch therapies that I like to recommend as well, like tea touch and massage, finding out how your dog likes to be touched and then taking advantage of that in downtime, which is also very calming. Ace free work, which I keep mentioning. We're going to show you a video of it in the comments after next week's mini live so that you can have a go. We'll bring many of the main elements of taking care of your dog's needs together. It's an activity which can fulfill just about everything that your dog needs, particularly all of his scavenging needs. So walking your dog, guys, is absolutely, it's not compulsory. And I know that sometimes some of us feel like bad dog owners if we don't walk our dog. But I often don't walk. Sassy doesn't go for a walk every single day because we're too busy doing other things, like making videos for my group, for example, going training ourselves, visiting different places and watching birds because she's bird obsessed to help her cope with that. Doing all sorts of different exercises in all sorts of different places. We don't do the traditional dog walk, as it were. So, and she's fine. She's probably one of the happiest, best looked after Dobermans on the planet, I would say. So walking your dog's not compulsory, all right? And right, really and truly, if you're really struggling with your walk, if you really are struggling with your walk on a daily basis, it's counterproductive. It's not doing you or your dog any good whatsoever. So have a little think about how your walk is serving you. But, and this is a capital but, if you don't walk your dog, you do need to replace the walk with something else. And that's why I've talked into all of the above, or all of the stuff I've mentioned, the fab stuff that you and your dog can enjoy together. So rather than focusing on walks, think about what walks are actually for and find other ways to meet those needs for your dog. And that's what we do within our reactivity program in particular, because we want to be working on, you know, building a relationship with the dog, building calmness in, helping him feel safe, etc., and then giving him skills that he can use when he's out and about to cope with things that threaten him as well. And we do a lot of work on things like that. You know, so rather than focusing just on walks, which can be an absolute nightmare, think about what they're for and find other ways to meet those needs for your dog. And I want to finish today by looking at pattern games, and we're going to give you a couple of pattern games to start working on with your dog next week. Because playing pattern games for easy walks cannot be promoted enough, I believe. And a lot of our clients who've worked through our reactivity program rely on pattern games, or have come to rely on pattern games, and have found that they work beautifully well for their reactive dogs. Why, I hear everyone asking. Well, pattern games give you and your dog, importantly, a familiar structure to work within when you're in a distracting environment. And pattern games are intended to be simple, rhythmic behaviours that actually require very little training, but provide a safe thing to do when things are potentially challenging or, you know, too distracting for your dog. Now, pattern games all involve some movement, which, believe it or not, is often easier for your dog than being still in potentially challenging situations. You know, often when we have a reactive dog or an overexcited dog, we'll try and grab him to one side as somebody passes, and we'll get him to sit. And then that thing that he's finding challenging is getting closer and closer and closer. And in actual fact, a pattern game provides your dog with something to do that is familiar, that he's, you know, he loves to do, that is very well practiced. And movement, it's very well known, is much easier for your dog when he feels threatened or challenged than being still with the thing coming closer towards him. So many dogs feel very relieved when they get to play their game, because it is safe, it is so safe, and it's so predictable. This can get you out of trouble. Yeah, it really can get you out of trouble. Allows you to walk past, you know, a lot of our pattern games will allow you to walk past other dogs, or to, you know, just take a step to the side, play the game whilst other dogs pass by. They can also help your dog relax when over aroused. Pattern games can help your dog feel so much more comfortable about things that concern them, because they get to play their rewarding game whenever these concerning things appear. And that's the idea. So over time, it helps reduce your dog's overall reactivity or overexcitement. I use pattern games all of the time in my training programs, and my clients absolutely love them, just as I do. Sassy adores ping pong, for example, which I'm going to talk about a little bit and introduce next week for you to have a go at. These games, however, form just a fraction of what we can do and enjoy with our dogs, and what we share with our clients in Dove Academy. And they're just, you know, a part of the picture that help our walks become so much easier and more enjoyable with our dogs. And it's all about what you and your dog are practicing as to how your walks will look and feel, 100%. And for me, you know, focus and relationship always come first, and then calm and happy, relaxed walks follow. And we have to practice what we want to happen rather than what we don't want to happen. And that's why I'm a great believer in a walks break and the deconstructed dog walk. So if you want to know more about our reactivity program or any of our programs, you know, just get in touch. and we can tell you more about it. We start our reactivity program on the 20th of October. Spaces are limited, so if you want a space, do get in touch or book one. That's really important. Happy to have a conversation with anyone if you want to know a little bit more about it. So again, PM me if you want to know a little bit more about that. So next week we're going to do a live, and we're going to include some of the little games that I've spoken into today. We're going to talk a little bit about ACE, and we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to talk about some of the pattern games and give you a couple of those to go away and practice as well. Important thing is, I'm giving you a lot of great information here, but it's not a complete training program or reactivity program. If you want the whole package, then you need to sign up to one of our programs. I'm giving you as much as I can in my lives for free. The other thing to talk about in my programs really as well is the community that is formed around each and every one of my programs. It's pretty amazing, because you basically get access. Everyone who is on one of my programs gets to join the secure community for that program. They're all usually Doberman owners, all like you, all having trouble with reactivity, overexcitement or frustration. You all get to be in this community together, and you all get to support one another. And the beauty of it is as well, it's like having your trainer on speed dial, because between our live coaching sessions and working through the syllabus we provide you with, which is huge, you have access to your trainers on a daily basis between your live coaching sessions as well. So if you ever need any help, as I say, it's like having us on speed dial. Wendy and I are there daily, answering questions, giving you feedback. If something's not going according to plan, we're there to help you straight away. So you're not ever left struggling on your own with your dog. The communities are amazing. So anyway, that's the end of our live for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've picked up a little bit of learning from it, which is what I'm always trying to do with my little freebies that I pop in and deliver. Next week, same time, 6 o'clock, Tuesday evening, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about pattern games and showing you how to do a few. So if you want to know a little bit more, if you want to learn a little bit more, I'll pop a little event back up so that you can just join the live as and when you want to. But hopefully you've all enjoyed this live. If you're popping by afterwards, still say, pop by and say hi if you're watching this recording. That would be amazing. And also let us know what you need help with. Let us know what your dog is like on walks. We love to hear from you. We love to see your dogs. And right at the very end here, welcome to everybody who's joined us recently. We've got a lot of little things ready to post up for you, and do go and have a look at the little free challenge, the sit challenge I posted yesterday. Have a go with your dogs. The more you join in, the more you'll get out of the group. So thank you as always for being here, and hopefully I'll see many of you next week. Bye.